Good evening. I'm going to start off by just giving a brief resume of the history of the shipyard and also the progress of remediation to clean up the contamination, and then that will be a background to the more focused discussions on liquefaction that are of more immediate concern. Next. The structure of my presentation is going to be to talk a little bit about the history of the shipyard, then talk about the contaminants that are of concern there, then the status of remediation, and then finally a more focused few words about parcel E2. Next. About 140 years ago, the shipyard was established as the first dry dock on the West Coast. Just before World War II, the Navy purchased the property and leased it to Bethlehem Steel, and then they took it over during the war. During the war years and immediately afterwards, it was the site of the Naval Radiological Defense Laboratory, one of the first radiation study centers in the country. The shipyard was closed as an active shipyard by the Navy in 1974. For about 10 years subsequent to that, it was operated by another company who also did shipyard repairs. In 1987, Ecology was instrumental in bringing to the attention of Congress and the public that the shipyard was highly contaminated. And as a result of bringing that to the public attention, the remediation process got started. The shipyard was placed on the BRAC list, the Base Realignment and Closure list, in 1988, which means the Navy had decided it was no longer going to be active and was going to be transferred over for other uses. In 1993, Congress authorized the transfer to the city of San Francisco. In 2004, Parcel A was transferred to the city. Construction began in 2006, and as we speak, infrastructure work is still going on Parcel A and also remediation. I think I'm going to stand up where I can see. Next, Anthony. One of the primary uses of the shipyard was as a dry dock facility, and what that means is that the ship can be sailed into this area, the gates closed, the water pumped out, and then the ship can be worked on from all sides, inside and out, as if it were on dry land. Next. In addition, Hunters Point Shipyard was a pioneer in radiation research for the Navy and in cooperation with University of California and others. Next. In terms of the fill that's taken place in this area, except for this hillside and a spur area around here, that was the original Hunters Point. If it's flat, it's fill. So everything in this area is fill and could be subject to liquefaction. Next. In order to address the contamination that resulted from the various activities at the shipyard, it was divided up into several parcels. Initially, it was just 5 parcels, A through E. A is in this area, and that's been totally remediated and is under construction now. Parcel F, the underwater portion, was added subsequent to the first 5. And then just last year, Parcel D was divided into G, D1, D2, UC1, and UC2. This stands for underground or utility corridor. Next. And as a result of the activities by the Navy and others, quite a bit of contamination occurred on these parcels. And the areas of interest for this contamination are in the soil, in the groundwater, and then also radiological compounds. As an example of some of these chemicals in the garbage dump area, parcel E2, these compounds, among others, were found in the soil. And they include metals and pesticides and PCBs and other compounds. In some cases, most of these have been removed, and eventually the risk of these compounds is going to be reduced by the remediation that's selected. Next. In groundwater, also from parcel E2, the types of compounds include ammonia, some other metals, pesticides, and this is a pesticide also, PCBs, and petroleum products. Next, Anthony. The radiological contaminants are very thoroughly described in the historical radiological assessment, and this description has been expanded on in radiological addenda to the remedial investigations. The main compounds of concern are plutonium, thorium, radium, cobalt, cesium, and strontium. And these radioactive chemicals came from luminescent radium dials that were used on the ships through the 1960s. Also from decontamination of ships that were exposed to nuclear tests in the Pacific. Some of the Navy's defense laboratory experiments, such as ship shielding from radiation, and also due to practices at the time allowed low-level radiation to be dumped into the drains, and so the sewers and storm drains became contaminated with low-level radiation. Anthony?